Hello, everybody. My name is Lat Mackey, and this is Sequence Break IL. A look at speedrunning, game development, content creation, and everything in between. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for watching and listening and all that fun jazz. Very much appreciated from the bottom of my heart. In this one, going to talk a little bit about Super Mario World ROM hacks and specifically Kaizo ROM hacks. I've had some experience lately that made me want to reshare an interview that I did with GrandPooBear, PangeaPanga, and Mitchflowerpower talking all about Super Dram World way back when in 2021 for the Games Done Quick Show Games Done Classic. But before, what the heck? Why would I even think about resharing this one? Well, it's so funny because I think since I've been into speedrunning, which I'm trying to remember my first experiences, maybe 2013, 2014, somewhere around that time period, I've enjoyed what speedrunners have done with Kaizo ROM hacks. And what exactly is Kaizo has just kind of become known colloquially, that's a tough word to say, as, you know, these challenging Super Mario World ROM hacks that are created by all of these amazing creators and developers nowadays. And it's interesting to be such a fan of it and then not having really ever played one. The first ROM hack I ever played was Return to Dinosaur Island, which if you haven't played any ROM hacks or if you're looking for Super Mario World ROM hacks, it's a really good one because it almost feels like Super Mario World 2. If it wasn't, you know, Yoshi's Island, it feels like a natural sequel to the original game. Not Kaizo, it's not difficult. It just makes it feel like Super Mario World. And the difficulty kind of increases as you go along with the game. The first like Kaizo ROM hack that I ever tried was Super Dram World, the one we're going to talk about today. And I think I made it past the first level and that was it. And I believe it took me 3 hours or so. Like it was not easy. I found it very challenging. My fingers were doing things that they're not used to doing. For like some context, my only like Super Mario World experience, I beat the game once for Super Mario World and it was on the 3DS. So it was on the virtual console version. I didn't grow up with Super Nintendo. So it's not a game that I actually got a chance to spend a lot of time with, even though I have quite an affinity for it. So I got to say that I recently watched a GrandPooBear video that was on YouTube about this. It's actually not as new as I thought it was, but a ROM hack by Maddie, allegedly, and Margot, apparently. And if you're not familiar with Maddie, she's one of the creators of Celeste, and just both of these individuals are just awesome members of the community, and they are on a whole nother level as far as design stuff goes, like so many of the Kaizo ROM hack developers out there, but they really create some awesome stuff. And the ROM hack, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching the video version of this, besides just having a wonderful look to it, the ROM hack does some really cool things with it, where it does what one of the things that I love about so many good developers out there is they introduce you to a skill and then they challenge you with it, but it basically teaches you how to play the game through little segments in the game. And it starts off with like the first thing you need to learn, and then it teaches you the next thing, and then it challenges you with that. It's what I consider like some of the fundamentals of like really good game design. And so it looked like a ROM hack that I could handle. I'm like, hey, I've never played Kaizo very much. Why not? Let's just jump right in and see what we can do. And not a surprise, the first level took me 4 hours, and I'm still stuck on the second level at about 6 hours in. So here we are. I'm learning how to do things, but I really enjoyed the experience. And so playing Sure Shot reminded me of this conversation that I was very fortunate to have with PangeaPanga, GrandPooBear, Mitchflowerpower, and the legend himself, dram55, talking about Super Dram World. And how this whole thing came to be was still, I think to this day, some of the most popular GDQ runs have been a lot of the Mario stuff. There's just still something so impressive about seeing Mario performed at a high level. If you check out GDQ's YouTube channel, you'll see towards the top in the top 20, there's a lot of Mario in there. And as speedrunning grew, we got to see the proliferation and kind of this explosion of Mario World ROM hacks and all sorts of other Mario ROM hacks. Interestingly enough, it also seemed like that the Mario Maker space also helped blow up the Super Mario World ROM hacks and all the other ROM hacks. A lot of people got into developing and creating levels for Mario games. And one of the originals, I shouldn't say the original, but one of the early ones was Super Dram World. It seems like the one that really kind of blew the lid off of Kaizo Mario World ROM hacks. And it was dedicated in honor of dram55, created, developed by a young PangeaPanga. And one of the first, this might have been the first time we saw it on the GDQ stage, was with GrandPooBear, and Mitch is on the couch. So that's why they were all there for it. And I got to tell you, kind of one of those bucket list things, being around the speedrunning community now for a little bit, was actually getting to chat to all four of these individuals. It kind of blew my mind that this whole thing actually came together. As many of you may or may not know, Dram doesn't stream a ton anymore. He left speedrunning a little while ago. Gosh, a while ago now, not a little while ago. So to get all of these folks back in the same place to talk about Super Dram World was just really freaking awesome. I mean, that's the only way I could describe it. I can't believe they all said yes. It still kind of blows my mind that they all agreed to do this. So the clip I'm sharing you here is actually that entire conversation. I think it's that good, that just to hear these individuals talk about that time and that place and what it was like to play these games on that stage and show off ROM hacks and all that kind of stuff. So hope you enjoy the chat with the legends that are GrandPooBear, Mitchflowerpower, PangeaPanga, and dram55. Enjoy. Before Super Dram World came out, what was the Kaizo and fan-made games like in the Mario community?
I first got introduced to Kaizo stuff around 2008, and back then, there was not a lot of ROM hacks like related to being extremely difficult, and the ones that were kind of badly made. They were on the verge of being the trolley types, and eventually around maybe like 2009, 2010, they started to surface and become a little better in terms of level design. And that's when I started to make levels and ROM hacks. So between 2010 and 2015, there would be like a progression. And it wasn't really until Dram World came out that I noticed Kaizo was actually good. And most of the Kaizo levels were made for like tasks only, or people that had to use save states, had to play the game slower. So before Dram World, I don't think most of the Kaizo hacks were tailored towards people that actually wanted to, or who were masochistic enough to play them without save states. So that was what the Kaizo community was kind of back then, I'd say, at least in my experience.
So Dram, I got to ask, when you find out that there's a game named after you, how do you react? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. It was interesting. I don't really remember my reaction at the time. I can tell you, Panga, I've never felt more guilty than right now for never finishing the game.
I was about to say, this is gonna sound super fangirly, but like it's always been a dream of mine to have Dram watch one of my Dram World runs, and he never has because he's never finished the games. He doesn't want spoilers, which I respect. I totally respect that, but it's just it's really funny.
Panga, I'm curious about the process here of creating Super Dram World. Were you the only one testing it at the time, or did you share this with anybody before it was complete? Like, how did you get to where we found the final version of this game?
I think I was the only tester. I had just gone off my first year of college, so it was summer break, so I had all the time in the world. And I think I worked like 8 hours a day for 2 weeks. Because I made it in 2 weeks. I wanted to get it out ASAP. I know like rush jobs aren't the greatest, but I was kind of excited to work on it. So I think I did all the play testing. As a result, there's a bit of cheese and some parts are a little iffy, but for the most part, it
does hold up pretty well.
Yeah, it did the work. I mean, that's how I always did my all my fan-made games. I'd play test them myself, but this one was a little different since I had to I had to think in the mindset that people are going to play this start to finish without save states, and they're going to struggle.
Obviously, the first question I got to ask is, Pooh, how do you prepare to play a game like this? Because I've tried playing this game myself. I've never gotten past the third level. Like, it's just an incredibly challenging game. How do you prepare for something like this?
I played a lot. I played a lot. This was my life for probably like February, right after I got back from that GDQ. And I had, the only reason I started playing this because I ran out of Panga Mario Maker levels. And, he was like, well, I made a ROM hack. So I was like nagging. I was like, hey, make more levels for me. And he was like, yo, I made a ROM hack. So
before you did Dram World, that was when you were still like Mario 3 is better than Super Mario World at that time?
I still feel that way. I mean, I still feel like the Mario 3 base game is significantly better than the Mario World base game. I'll never give up that hill. But yeah, I mean, up to that point, I was what do I want to say? I was like, I was maybe a bit hesitant to do Mario World in general, because I liked Mario 3 so much, and I don't know, I felt like there was like this weird rivalry that didn't really exist. But I was kind of like holding off on doing it. But yeah, I ran out of Panga's levels, and he was like, I literally said, well, I mean, I made a ROM hack if you want to play that, and so yeah, and so that's how I started playing it. That's literally why.
That's what I was going to ask, because Mitch mentioned the nerves, and it's surprising to hear you guys say the nerves because you seem so comfortable and everything out there. But playing a game like this, I mean, it had to be, right? There's just anything could go wrong.
No, my heart was the whole week. My heart was just like beating super hard, because I was nervous for a lot of reasons. Like one, I felt like if I didn't do well on this, like because at this point, you know, it's the third time these have been in. But this one was a big like a step up in difficulty from Kaizo 1. I just felt like if I bombed it, like I was ruining it for everybody. Like no other Kaizo game was ever going to get in. Dram 1 actually is like a game that I've always had the goal. I always had the dream of doing a deathless Dram 1, like a full optimized, like get every skip deathless Dram 1. And I've had one death. I've had a 3 death that was stupid fast. But I've never got the deathless run. And I
had a deathless run though, right?
I had one down to the last hit of Bowser one time, and last hit of Bowser and a mushroom in the. I don't want to talk about it. It's a great clip though if you ever want to see it. I've been really close. Yeah, I've been really close. So and I still have that dream, and so every once in a while, the motivation is creeped back in for me, and I'll go and still bang out some Dram World runs. And it's not too hard for me to play myself back into shape because I've spent, you know, a year and a half pretty much on this game.
So I knew the rope skip was possible in Dram World 1, and I made it like my mission to prevent it from happening in Dram World 2. But spoilers, it still happens.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I found out like back then my mindset kind of changed because I really wanted to prevent that sort of like cheese or breaks. But then after Dram World 2, I realized that that's what makes speedruns interesting, trying to find ways to like circumvent the creator's intended ways of playing the game. So eventually I just like left it in. I think I made like one more attempt to prevent another skip from happening, but then LinkedIn found another way around it, and I was like, all right, you know what? The speedrunners win.
Yeah.
You know, I got to ask Panga, because one of the things I find interesting is the number of levels that end up in any given game. And is it something where you had intended to only set out to do a certain amount of levels, or what makes you end up, you know, choosing the amount of levels that you have in the game?
I don't really have like a specific amount, but I try to have a minimum just to have or see what kind of experience the player might have and how enjoyable it might be. Because I know if you make a couple levels, the people might want more, and if you make it too long, then they might get bored. So I found that most of these games have anywhere between like 10 to 20. So I kind of just base it around there, and then if I ever run out of ideas, that's basically where I stop. Whenever I run out of ideas, I'm like, all right, I think that's enough.
That's it.
Yeah.
As a creator and a designer, how much fun is it to see all of your friends and stuff run into all these Kaizo blocks?
Oh, it's a ton of fun. I even made like a little montage of clips of people just hitting Kaizo blocks.
Yeah, just to mention how many Kaizo blocks are in this game, like probably like 2 years after this run happens, I'm going back in, trying to lower my Dram World record time, and I hit a Kaizo block at the end of this level, the very last jump at the end of this level. I had never hit before, never seen before, never knew it was in. Like I was like, did I get a patch version from Panga? Like, where did this even come from? So, right here, actually, this is another strat that Mitch found, like a really genius strat that I never even thought of, but he just screen scrolls the screen left, and then you get to skip a whole cycle of business right there. So
yeah, a little time save. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, such an incredible. Yeah, Mitch found that one. That was such an incredible no skill required massive time save. It was just such a genius move that I had never even thought of doing.
Well, It's absolutely.
Dram, if you ever watch this run, actually, right here, I'm doing like a big monologue about how you inspired me. So, yeah, if you ever do go back watch that run, you might. I always appreciate that. You have no idea.
I might tear up.
Yeah, you might. You might.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because honestly, like I had said, Jeff W. 356 inspired me, and then I just decided, hey, I'll submit it to GDQ, and it was just, I guess, chance that a lot of people saw it. So yeah, it's pretty great how this all kind of, what happened after that.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for taking the time and reliving some of these moments with us. I know we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for you and some of the things you did. So thank you, truly. Thanks everyone for listening and watching. If you're enjoying the podcast, please feel free, subscribe, like, leave a comment, all that stuff people say at the end of a video. It honestly all goes a long way to help the podcast. Thank you so much. If you want to join us on Discord, we chat mostly about food, but occasionally we do talk about the stuff that's in the podcast. The link is in the show notes or in the description. Feel free. Come on by. Join us. If you want to follow on Twitter, Sequence Break PC. Sequence Break PC. I post when I go live. It's kind of not at a set time. So if you want to see the live feed of the podcast, feel free, follow there. And finally, if you want to email, podcast@sequencebreakpodcast.com. Sequencebreakpodcast.com is also where you can find the backlog of all of the episodes. It's also on YouTube as well. So feel free, join in, have some fun. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next one.